Here is something worth considering. Some of the most perceptive, emotionally intelligent people you will ever encounter did not build those skills through books, classrooms, or years of meditation. They developed them because at some point in their lives, they had no other choice. Their nervous system was shaped not by intention, but by circumstances that forced them to read rooms, anticipate moods, and think several steps ahead just to feel safe. Psychologists have begun referring to this as traumatic intelligence. And if you have never heard of it before, that is exactly why this matters. Here is the psychological foundation. Trauma does not only wound people in many cases, it also sharpens them. Research in developmental psychology reveals that children raised in unpredictable or emotionally complex environments often develop a heightened sensitivity to social cues, emotional patterns, and nonverbal communication. Their brains, particularly the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, become wired early on to detect subtle signals that most people completely overlook. The outcome is a form of intelligence that appears almost invisible from the outside, yet runs incredibly deep on the inside. The first sign is that you can read a room before anyone speaks a word. You walk into a space and something shifts inside you, a quiet alertness. You pick up on tension in someone's posture or a micro expression that flashes across a person's face for less than a second. This is not intuition in the mystical sense, it is pattern recognition. Your brain was trained from an early age to scan your environment for emotional data because at some point, that scanning kept you safe. The second sign is that you are deeply attuned to other people's needs. Sometimes before they are, you notice when someone is struggling. Even when they insist they are fine, you sense the shift in someone's energy before they have had a chance to process it themselves. Psychologists refer to this as hyperempathy, and it often develops in people who grew up needing to track the emotional states of caregivers or family members closely. You learn to feel others because your environment demanded it. The third sign is that you are an exceptional problem solver, especially under pressure. When things fall apart around you, something inside you goes calm and strategic. You do not freeze. You adapt. This is the nervous system doing something remarkable. Individuals who experienced early adversity often develop what researchers describe as stress inoculation, meaning their brains are better calibrated to manage high-stakes situations because high-stakes situations were simply their normal. You do not panic when the pressure is on instead. You step into a calm, organized mode. You assess the situation, identify solutions, and act without hesitation. The stress you experienced growing up prepared you for moments like this. What others may see as overwhelming chaos, you see as a puzzle to be solved. The fourth sign is that you think deeply about human behavior, almost compulsively. You analyze why people do what they do. You replay conversations. You search for the meaning behind actions that others do not even register. This depth of psychological thinking is not random. It was forged by years of trying to understand the unpredictable behavior of people around you. You became a student of human nature because understanding people felt essential to your well-being. As a result, you have developed the ability to anticipate people's responses or actions before they even happen. You can predict how someone will react in a given situation based on their behavior, mood, and body language. This skill makes you highly adaptable in social settings, as you are often one step ahead of others in terms of emotional dynamics. Your ability to read and respond to people has become second nature. The fifth sign, consider this for a moment. Everything you have heard so far, the perceptiveness, the empathy, the analytical mind, these are not weaknesses dressed up as strengths. They are genuine cognitive and emotional adaptations. And they tell a story about how remarkably responsive the human brain is to experience. You develop this intelligence not out of luxury, but because your environment demanded it. What others might label as too sensitive or overthinking is actually the result of your mind working tirelessly to stay safe, to adapt, and to understand your surroundings better than most. The sixth sign is that you have a highly developed sense of self-reliance. You do not wait for people to rescue you. You build solutions independently and quietly. This self-sufficiency often surprises people who know you, but it makes complete sense developmentally. When the environment in childhood was not reliably supportive, the brain learned to internalize resourcefulness. Dependence felt risky, so competence became the default. You may have learned early on that asking for help was not always an option, so you had to find your own way. You developed a quiet strength that is not reliant on others' support or validation. While others may look for external guidance or reassurance, you look inward to find solutions. And this quiet independence often gives you a sense of calm. Amidst chaos, the more challenges you face, the more you thrive in creating your own path. The seventh sign is that you feel things more intensely than the people around you seem to. Music hits differently. Injustice bothers you on a visceral level. A kind gesture from a stranger can genuinely move you. This emotional depth is a hallmark of traumatic intelligence. The amygdala, which processes emotional experience, becomes highly sensitized through repeated emotional activation throughout life. The result is a person who does not just observe the world, they feel it at a frequency most people do not have access to. Your emotional radar is finely tuned, and this deep emotional capacity can often feel like both a gift and a curse. On one hand, you experience the world with a profound intensity, but on the other hand, it can also make you more vulnerable to emotional exhaustion or overwhelm. You carry the weight of the world's injustices, pain, and beauty, often without realizing just how deeply you absorb these feelings. The eighth sign is that you struggle to trust easily. But when you do trust, it is profound. Your threshold for trust is simply higher than average. This is not cynicism. It is a calibrated response. Cognitive psychologists call this adaptive skepticism. Your brain learned early that not all signals of safety were genuine, so it built filters, and those filters, while sometimes isolating, also mean that the connections you do form tend to be honest, meaningful, and unusually resilient. Once trust is earned, however, you are incredibly loyal and unwavering. Your relationships are built on solid, genuine foundations. Because you have learned to be cautious in giving your trust, you do not hand out trust easily, but once it is given, it is a bond that is difficult to break.